Welcome to the No Name Brand Podcast. My name is Sashka Hanarapal, actress, singer, dancer, turned brand marketing, sales, and advertising strategist who brands your soul. And each week I bring you an inspiring person or message to help you discover your undergod, turn up your leadership notches, challenge the status quo, because you're fast and furious with a powerful message to share with the world. Thank you for taking time out with me today, and without further ado, let's get our creative and wisdom juices flowing. Daydreaming. Who the hell doesn't love it? Escaping to a place where your imagination can run wild, a secret place that no one else knows about, and planting yourself amongst words that move you to the core, that only the mind can see, hear, and feel. Wait a minute, daydreaming amongst words? How is that possible? Today's guest loves nothing more than to show you how to daydream fully awake using the power of words. I'm just as intrigued as you are. Please help me in welcoming Mandi Kontos from Dreaming Fully Awake. Welcome, lovely. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Super to have you on the podcast.
Thank you. That was a lovely little intro. I was like, wow, I wish I could think of something that cool to say.
Oh, thanks, man. I do my best. I'm actually having a ball just putting all these intros together. I'm like, oh, this is fun. But it's probably the
cool.
acting. Yeah. I'm pretty eager, and I'm sure the listeners as well, to dive in and explore your world. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So, do you believe that we all have a story to write?
I do. Like, there's so many different experiences and life journeys that we all have that bring a new and a kind of different point of view on the way that we can put things out there in the world. And I find that being able to play with words and being able to really delve into that gives everybody a chance to get their stories heard.
Yeah, because everybody does have a story, whether you're an entrepreneur or just non-entrepreneur.
Yeah.
We all have our story, you know. When you listen to grandpa telling stories, or grandma or mum or whatever, it's like there's always a story there that you get lost in.
Yeah, it's so great.
Tell me, is your why within helping others learning to write their story, or is there a different why? What is your business message?
I really love to write, and I want to be able to help others find their voice, and I really enjoy being able to get to the heart of the matter and not have a filter and really just explore how writing can change somebody. And I really love helping people embrace that, because a lot of people don't think that they have the writer in them. They kind of are like, oh, I've got this story, but I kind of don't really want to do anything with it, or don't know how to do anything with it. But I find that stripping it down and being able to really get to the core of it, and then getting people to embrace just how beautiful and how intrinsically it is in our nature to actually write and have these stories and tell them. It's something that I really enjoy working with others, and I could happily just sit there and just write and not really care about everything else that's going on. So
I love that. And especially something that you said now, that we all have this intrinsic desire to write. That really made me think now, because I was like, oh yeah, that's really true. But we have this, when I was speaking to Louise Cartwright on a podcast a few days ago, she was mentioning that we have this virus where we have the virus of parenthood and also education, where they suppress that innate desire to write, because we automatically think you have to be born with a pen in your hand to write, or to be a writer. So, I mean, you write with a pen.
Or a keyboard.
Or a keyboard, exactly. Oh, I really, really like that. That's going to make me think today. Cool. So what's, in your opinion, the two most important things that every writer needs to push forward?
I really think that they need to accept that no writing is perfect, because I work with study as well. So at the moment I'm doing a master's in creative writing, and in my previous degree that I did, I actually was coming across a lot of people who are like, oh, I can't get anything out there. And I'm like, well, why? And they're like, oh, it's not perfect. And I'm like, but it's not supposed to be perfect. It's a first draft. I really, really enjoy being able to get a first draft out because it's messy. It's always full of like grammatical errors and spelling errors. And I have lots of little red squiggles everywhere. But I really enjoy being able to just get it out there because you can't edit a blank page, as Jodie Picoult says. You need to have something on the page to be able to edit. And that's one of the biggest things that I find with a lot of people is that they just are like, it has to be perfect the first time and that's it. And it really doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating.
It is. I know for myself, even when I'm doing branding or marketing strategies or gosh, even writing my own book. And I always say done is better than perfect, but I don't like putting up fluff. So at the same time, I'm like, oh no, I can't put this up. No. It's not good. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. And it's like you say, just do the freaking draft. You can't edit a blank page. Love that.
Yeah. I always struggle as well with a lot of my blog posts that I actually post. They're pretty much first drafts because if I keep looking at them, I end up deleting them and walking away. So like I will post it and then I'll come back to it like a week later and I was like, oh, there's a spelling mistake. Oh, people have seen this. Whoops, let's just fix that. So.
Oh, guilty of that one. Yes. I've often thought maybe I should send all my blog posts to an editor. For me, it's like when I write my blog posts or when I'm writing something or even the podcasts, it's kind of like actors because I come from an acting background and actors don't watch their movies. And I don't like reading or listening because I'm like, oh God, I've just been through all of that. I don't want to watch it again. And it's to my advantage in a way because otherwise I would do exactly that. I'd be like, nope. Got to stretch that one. No, not going over there.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that a writer needs to push forward other than do it?
Yeah, do it. Well, the other thing is I've actually just discovered this, but a lot of writing that we do is a lot of rewriting. So as much as I'm like, oh, hey, get the stuff on the actual page, you need to actually, once you do get it on the page, just keep rewriting it and keep revisiting it because every time you revisit it, it gets a little bit better. And then the editing, which I always like, as much as I love editing other people's works, I really hate editing my own work. Like I could just, if I could hand up a manuscript and it'd be a first draft, I'd be happy. I struggle when I get to the second and the third and the fourth draft and I'm like, I want to punch somebody and it's just...
How do you deal with it? How do you deal with that frustration? Do you just carry on pushing through?
I push through it. A lot of it is like for example, I'm currently editing my first full manuscript and I've been working on it for about 14 years now. So I'm a bit sick of it. But I've gotten to the point where I really dislike the first part of the novel. But when I get to the second part of the novel, I'm like, did I actually write this? I'm like, this is actually really good. And it's just like, I can't understand where the two meet because I think it's more like the first part is like laying down the world and then the second part is getting into the world. So it's kind of like, if I can just get past that first bit and get into the second bit, I really enjoy it. But it's just a matter of pushing on. And I will send my poor best friends, they must get really frustrated with me because I just send them a text message. I'm like, I hate it all. I'm stopping. And they're like, no, don't do it. And then they use my own techniques back on me. They're like, don't stop. And I'm like, you hang around with me too much.
Oh, I love that. It's good. It's good to have friends like that. They're good friends. They listen to you. Nice.
Yes. Most of the time.
Yeah. So tell me, what pisses you off about writers and writing coaches today? Because it's not, I mean, now it's very common to have a writing coach or a book coach and publishing houses in self-publishing, which wasn't there for about probably 12 years ago. And now it's more prevalent with all the online businesses. Do you have any pet peeves? Without bashing anyone, because we don't want to bash. Yeah. It's just like, it's just a pet peeve.
Yeah, but most of it is that a lot of people expect things to be free. And it's so frustrating. Yeah, I know. So that's one of the things that I get really frustrated at because it's like you could obviously go to your mother or your best friend or whatever it is and be like, so I've got this book or, you know, I'm doing this thing. Can you look over it for me and whatnot? And they can look over it and it'll be fine, but they won't have the same technical eye that a writing coach would have or that a skilled editor would have because a lot of people don't understand how much training goes into actually being able to edit and how much, you know, you've got to learn about grammar and your tenses and the way that a story works and the way that you can actually use that to help people and how you can get over blocks and whatnot. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of that is stuff that should be paid for and shouldn't just be free. So I get really frustrated when people are like, oh, no, that's fine. I'll do that for free or you can do this for free. It's like, no. Like, would you go to a hairdresser and ask them to cut your hair for free?
Yeah. The thing is, when we use the example of with hairdresser, we've all been to hairdressers since we were a kid, so we know what to expect. So I'm just going to shine the light on two things and you can expand on this. So when you go to an editor and to a book coach, what you don't realize is, because you haven't been to a book coach before, so you don't really see this, is that once you're writing something, it needs to have a flow, and you want to keep the attention span of the reader. So it needs to be exciting, needs to be curious. So even though you have a story to tell, one sentence leads on to the next one. And if you're just waffling, which I often used to do until I learned this from writers as well, is that if you keep the attention span with the one sentence leading into the next one, you're building the attention span.
Yeah.
And if you don't have this is what an editor and a book coach helps you with, so you can keep that attention. And the other thing is yes, there's the grammar and the tenses and everything. I know for myself, I'd always be writing something and then I'd go into the past tense, and then I'd be in the future tense, and then I'd be writing I instead of you, and just little things like that. And if you're not going to go over reading your 20,000 words again on your own, or someone else is reading it, they're not going to pick up on it. And your family aren't really the ones that are going to go, oh, darling, I think you forgot this. They're very biased. They're like, you did a great job. Well done.
Yep.
You're like, oh, great. Anything else, like the little things? Because I know it's usually, I don't know what it's in Australia or New Zealand. I know in the UK, it's 5 cents a word or something to that effect that most editors then charge for a book.
Yeah. I think it varies. It's between 5 and 10 cents roughly. I personally don't do it by per word, just because a lot of the people that come to me tend to be full manuscripts, and 100,000 words is a lot of, some people are like, oh no, I can't do that. And I'm like, okay, understandable. It's difficult because writing and editing have 2 different hats. Whereas writing, you kind of have this chance to be really just free with it and have to just write and not worry about anything. Whereas with editing, and I find this with myself when I switch to my own editing as well as, clients and whatnot, that it's a completely different brain, and being able to go over it once and just read it for the story and then pick out stuff that actually doesn't work because I haven't made it flow kind of makes it easier. But then the more that you read it, you kind of pick up more and more. And I found that when I just finished one of my last clients' manuscripts, I probably was with the novel for a good 3 months. And because at the time she was cool with me taking my time, but it was so rich and so hard to get through that I had to go through it 3 or 4 times and have to comb over it word by word and sentence by sentence, and then figure out how the chapters could work better or how they didn't work, and then things that she could just get rid of and stuff that she could add and whatnot. So it's got multi-layers, and with the different actual editing layers as well, it makes it a bit harder because there's different eyes and different things that you have to look for.
Yeah. And just listening to that, I'm sure the listeners are like, oh my God, this is like total overwhelm. And that would prevent them from pushing forward because there's so many things to do. And that's why, they are writing book coaches, editors, because time is money, and you don't want to be, in inverted commas, wasting your time on doing editing when you could be making money.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Cool.
Give yourself some freedom and be able to do stuff so that, you have an editor there or a writing coach that will help you and push you when you need it and look over stuff. And then you just don't have to worry about it. You just got to get the content out and then earn money from it, and that's it.
Yeah. And from an energy perspective, the more you restrict yourself with that overwhelm and procrastination, the more you're constricting the energy to flow in general with the book. And so you're restricting also business coming in because all your focus is just on, I can't get these words right. It's just not working. So once you let that go and someone else has got the energy to work with you, brilliant. Actually, this brings me to my next question is, I love how you describe yourself as a writing accountability partner, someone who challenges you and checks in with your progress. And we all need some form of accountability partner in all areas of our lives, be it a mom, a dad, or an entrepreneur. Now, just knowing you have support can really spur you on. What support in your life, or what has been your support in your life? And how has it helped you achieve everything that you've gotten up to now?
A lot of it has been my family. I currently live in Melbourne, and I actually live away from my family because I moved up here to study. And I kind of, as a kid, I always thought I didn't really like books, but I got to a point where I fell in love with them and wanted to write. And I was never somebody that thought I was really good at anything to do with words and whatnot. And it wasn't until I actually had an English teacher in high school that read one of my short stories, and physically, I passed it all up and it was all good. And he called me up to the front of the class and he actually grabbed my wrists, because the story had been about a girl who had cut her wrists, and her friend saved her, and they were in the hospital and whatnot. And he actually physically grabbed my wrists and was like looking at them, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand. And he's like, oh, I'm just checking to see if you have any personal experience, because the way that you wrote it seemed like you did. And I was like, no, I have none. And he's like, well, this is great. And it was actually him that pushed me forward to actually want to go and study writing at university, and then have, like, you know, my mum and my dad and all of my friends read bits and pieces of it, and they're like, you need to keep going. And it's kind of that momentum that really has kept me going. And then I got to uni and was able to be in a environment where people were very nurturing to just everything to do with writing and all of the writerly insides. And I found that I wanted to be able to give people that chance to have that experience that I had, and really be able to get something in return for writing. And as a lot of people know, writing is a very solitary act. So being able to have somebody there to lean on and be able to really have that support system is really important to me. And knowing that I've had it and being able to, you know, use my experiences and give that to somebody else makes it so worth it.
I love it. I can just imagine you sitting in a big plastic bubble and it's just your hand coming out going, I need support. Mom, Dad, I need the support. And then they just touch you like, I'm electrified again.
Yeah. It's like, I'm good. I can keep going now.
Oh, that is so cool. What do you feel holds most entrepreneurs back when, I'm speaking about nonfiction books, when writing a blog post or a book? And what advice do you have to spur them on to believe in themselves and write something?
Yeah. I really love that question, because I've spoken about this to other people as well. The biggest thing that I find holds people back is fear. And it's the fear of them saying something that's already been said, or something that is not quite going to gel with everybody else. But what I find and what I tell my clients is that when they sit down to do something, the way that it comes across others and the way that they think about it in their head is completely different. Because to us, like, I could sit there and I could write the most basic of posts about writing that I would find boring, but to somebody else, they could come across and it would be the first thing that they find to do with writing, and they will love it because they will know that it's the beginning for them. And every bit of information that's out there is different because it has our own personal spin on it, and being able to have that personal spin gives it a magical property that just is beautiful.
I love that. I've got on my arm is tattooed, thoughts become things.
I was trying to read that when you were like waving your hand around.
And I'm a firm believer of that. And I had to tattoo it. I was originally going to have it really small, and I had it really big now for different reasons. And it's really to remind you, like you were saying, telling yourself things that aren't true. You make up all these stories, and Brene Brown talks about it as well in Rising Strong in a book. And you concoct all these weird things in your brain that's going to happen, and they haven't even happened. They're just stories and thoughts. And these thoughts you can actually just put to the side. And it'd actually be really cool if you just woke up and you go, I'm going to write a blog post today, and it's going to be fucking awesome. And I know that whoever reads it is just going to love it. And then you just write it with such self-confidence. And I know on the podcast as well is Kelly Morgan, and she's got such a cool confidence reboost or something retreat. It's a little package to learn how to be confident. Because I know for myself, when I was not confident, I went and bought a book on self-esteem, and I was so excited to read it. And then I opened it and I was like, what the fuck is this? I can't get motivated from this. I didn't even know what they were on about. But now it's much better. But 100% agree with you. Definitely. I love that. I love that fear of believing what everyone else says. You got to listen to you. Listen to you. Yeah. How has writing saved your life?
It's something that I always go back to time and time again. I have recently lost my dad. It's about 3 years now. And the first time that I have never actually been able to write was immediately after, and about 6 months or so after he actually passed away. And I struggled because for me, anytime I get upset or I get really some kind of emotion, whether it's happy, sad, whatever, I find that I can just sit down and I can write through it, and all is great, and it tends to just be really cathartic. But with this, I physically could not do it. And I was in the middle of doing my rewrites for my novel, and I just struggled so much. So it's been able to help me cope, but it's also given me the confidence and the strength to actually be who I am and not really care about what anybody else says. Like, there's still that little bit of, thing in the back of my mind that's like, you're never going to be good enough. But it's like, no, I am. Like, as long as I can get this on the page, nothing else matters.
I love that. Goosebumps from head to toe, man. So I've found through my experience of writing that what most entrepreneurs lack are outlines or a framework to get themselves in the habit of writing, like an introduction, a problem highlighted, the content, the lead to the end, and the moral ending. Do you have any frameworks to share with our listeners today, or a framework?
Everyone's going to hate me, but I don't use frameworks.
Oh, cool. I love that. That's brilliant. Oh, so
I literally
just write.
I just write, literally. Like sometimes I'll have like the beginning of something that'll come up and I'll work from that, or I'll have an ending. No, I never have an ending. That's a lie. I never have an ending. I always have a middle or a beginning, and then everything else sort of fills in as it comes. I do have a little bit of a framework. When I'm working with a really, really long piece, I put all of my ideas down on sticky notes and I stick them on my mirrors, and then I move them around into what kind of order, that's the one, what kind of order they go into. So a lot of them are like little chapter headings and stuff like that. And that's the only way that I kind of work with. But I'm working at the moment on doing a little outline for people to actually help them with a lot of the stuff that I've done in my degrees and how they've all structured it, and like the right way, there's no right or wrong way, but the right way to kind of sit down and plan things and how to fill it all out. So it's in the process of being done.
Oh, I love human thought. We think in fragments. We live in fragments. We don't think in whole stories, and we don't live in whole stories. So when you're writing your book, I love that. So the framework is actually just write in fragments, and then you put them together how it's supposed to be put together. Absolutely love that. Cool. So Mandi, we're coming to the end, and I always ask my guests 2 questions at the end, and they're on my core values, and I'd like to hear your take by filling in the blanks.
Okay.
So creativity for you is?
Wonderfully amazing.
Cool. Passion for you is?
Exciting.
Wisdom for you is?
Beauty.
That's interesting. How do you want to change the world or challenge the world doing what you do?
I want to help people rethink how accessible writing is and how it can help every aspect of your life.
Love that. Thank you so much for being with us here today, Mandi. You can find out more about Mandi on dreamingfullyawake.com, and the social media handles are in the show notes. Her favorite book, her favorite quote, and perhaps even a freebie for you. How exciting, people. So, thank you very much, and be strong, and done is better than perfect.
Damn straight.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Dang, that was just supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. I enjoyed having you on board, and please do me and you a favor. Head on over to iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. Click subscribe, and a super bonus, leave your review and you stand a chance of being announced and advertised on the show. I'm always striving to ensure that your brand is uplifted and empowered. Remember, done is better than perfect. So be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and send in your feedback too. You're the absolute best. Keep rocking.